Hello everyone, and today we are back for another Loomian Legacy Top 5 video, and we're going to be talking about the top 5 Vice Jaws Loomians in all of Loomian Legacy. Vice Jaws is a brand new metal type biting move that was added during the Christmas event, and a lot of Loomians have gotten this move as a rally move. So with that out of the way, let's head right onto this list. So, number 5 onto this list on the top 5 Vice Jaws Loomians are Oxy Drake. Oxy Drake barely makes this list mainly because of Vice Jaws' secondary effect. The fact that the moves can't be used consecutively. And while that effect isn't really fully utilized on most of these Loomians, it works very well for Oxy Drake, because Oxy Drake is the best defensive Loomian on this list. So, yeah, that's very, very good for Oxy Drake. The biggest problem with Vice Jaws on Oxy Drake, though, is mainly because of 4-move syndrome. There are 5 moves that Oxy Drake usually runs: Outburst, Driving Force, Bulk Up, Rejuvenate, and Vice Jaws. You could also run Steel Crusher, but there's kind of no reason to run Steel Crusher because you risk missing your attacks. So, you have to drop one of those 5 moves in order to run Vice Jaws. And all those moves are very, very valuable. And usually, people would drop the Vice Jaws Stab. You could drop Bulk Up, but you lose the ability to set up. You could drop Rejuvenate, but you lose a healing move. Or you could drop Driving Force, meaning that you're walled by metal types. And while Vice Jaws itself is very good on Oxy Drake, the fact that you have to drop a crucial move on Oxy Drake doesn't make it as good as it could be. And that's why Oxy Drake is only number 5 on the list, despite Vice Jaws being very nice for it. Number 4 onto this list is going to be Samarine. Now, Samarine with the defensive form can be very good. With the terrifying version, this thing can be very dangerous with Vice Jaws. The biggest problem I have with Samarine, though, is that on the defensive version, I'm almost always clicking Baffle or Fade Away, mainly so I can pivot out into a better matchup. And you know, Baffle gives you a speed drop, and Fade Away does damage, which is good for disabling clutch plushies. But, even then, Samarine has Sharpen, which actually increases the accuracy of moves. And even though Steel Crusher has a chance to miss, it has 10 more damage, and then after a Sharpen, has no chances of missing. So there's kind of no reason to run Vice Jaws on an offensive Samarine, because once you get a Sharpen up, your Steel Crushers can't miss. And the chance of Steel Crusher even giving you another +1 boost could really make Samarine snowball damage. And while Vice Jaws can be pretty good without the Sharpen, usually when you're using a rep-up Samarine, you're almost always clicking at least one Sharpen, because you need the extra damage. The Samarine needs the extra setup. And even though the defensive option can run Vice Jaws and use it pretty well, Fade Away and Baffle are usually the moves that are usually clicked, and that's why Fade Away Samarine is out of the top 3. Number 3 onto this list is going to be Munchel. Yes, Samarine is definitely a better Loomian overall compared to Munchel, but Munchel utilizes Vice Jaws better, and it's mainly because of the difference in its setup move. It has Bulk Up instead of Sharpen. So when you click a Bulk Up, there's still that 10% chance of Steel Crusher missing, when you don't get that with Vice Jaws. Not to mention that Munchel has pretty good coverage as well, and that doesn't even include the fact that Vice Jaws' secondary effect could actually be utilized pretty well on a Munchel. On this scene, I actually beaten up Obsidragon one-on-one, which is kind of insane to think about when you consider the fact that Obsidragon is one of the best melee tanks in all of Loomian Legacy and can wall melee attackers for days. And the fact that Munchel has the chance to beat an Obsidragon one-on-one now because of Vice Jaws makes this thing really good, and definitely one of the best Vice Jaws Loomians in all of Loomian Legacy. And while Munchel is still a relatively flawed Loomian, it does utilize Vice Jaws really well. For the specialization set, though, I still recommend Steel Crusher, even with the chances of missing, because that's the only way to snowball damage with specialization. But you can run Vice Jaws specialization, and it can do pretty good as well. But yeah, Vice Jaws and Munchel actually helps it a lot. And that's why Munchel is number 3 on the list, and higher than Samarine. Number 2 onto this list is going to be Tyrex. There's only 2 options for the top 2 Loomians on this list, and Tyrex definitely deserves the number 2 version. And the thing that's good about Tyrex is this makes the Power Jaws Tyrex actually decent now. You can actually use Power Jaws Tyrex, and this thing can actually do work. With 112 melee attack and Power Jaws, this thing hits like a truck with Vice Jaws. And while Tyrex doesn't have any other chomping moves other than Chomp, the fact that you can run Chomp to hit those pesky plant types that Tyrex couldn't hit before makes this thing very dangerous. I mean, it defeats a Himber from half health, it beats a Luminami from half health, which keep in mind, Luminami's very bulky. This thing with Power Jaw hits very hard, and Vice Jaws gives it a huge advantage. Yes, this is another Steel Crusher Loomian that has Sharpen, so you could just run Sharpen and you're fine. But Steel Crusher doesn't get boosted by Power Jaw. If you're using the Terrifying Tyrex, you're going to use Steel Crusher, Scapegoat, and Setup. But if you're using the Power Jaws Tyrex, you're going to be using Vice Jaws as your main option, so you could hit the hardest. And that's why Tyrex is the number 2 Vice Jaws Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy. But it doesn't come close to the number 1 Loomian. The best Vice Jaws Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy is Hund. No other options here. This is by far the best Vice Jaws Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy. Giving Hund Vice Jaws basically makes Hund one of the best late game cleaners yet again. This thing still has Sharpened Setup, but it doesn't really need it. You can run 4 moves, Brawny Nimble Power Cuffs, and this thing hits like a truck. This has so much coverage, and while you do have to drop either Mega Chomp or Blaze Chomp in order to use Vice Jaws is unbelievably worth it. You can hit Obsidian super effectively. You can hit Tundrelin super effectively. 2 melee tanks that walled you before, and you can actually hit them super effectively now. And with 2 layers of barbs, you can 2-shot Obsidian, which is insane. Not to mention, Vice Jaws can hit Chironic super effectively, Giantus super effectively, Krampus super effectively. It can hit pretty much every ice type super effectively, which is awesome. And that doesn't even mention the fact that Hund, just like Tyrex, has the Power Jaw ability. And while it doesn't hit quite as hard as Tyrex, it's faster, has better coverage, and can be utilized a lot better than Tyrex. And that's why Hund is by far the best Vice Jaw Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy. Vice Jaws made Hund an average late game sweeper to absolutely amazing yet again. And that's why it's number 1 on the list. And here it is, Hund, the best Vice Jaws Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy. I hope you guys enjoyed this top 5 list. If there's another top 5 list that y'all want me to make, please tell me in the comments below, because honestly, I'm kind of running out of ideas. So any comment giving me ideas is really helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me talking about the top 5 Vice Jaws Loomians, and I'll see y'all all later. Bye-bye!